Give y'all a minute to get up in this Mickey Ficky. Getting dricky with the Mickey Ficky. You know what I mean? What's crack-a-lacking? How are my freedom marchers doing? My freedom fighters, my freedom lovers, my freedom folkers. We in the building. It is Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. Allegedly. Supposedly. I say it's January 4th, 2022. But hey, what do I know? What do I know other than that January is the 11th month? I don't know anything beyond that. Anyway, how y'all doing? Snapzilla Gorilla here, aka The Definition, aka Snap Turtle, aka whatever the fuck you want to call me, other than my government name. You know what I mean? Y'all can't have that yet. You know what I mean? So, excuse me. Give you guys a minute to get up in here. Remember when I used to play music at the beginning of my live streams without an issue? Now motherfuckers trying to copyright strike. But the funny thing is, my shit's not monetized, so technically there would be no reason to copyright my shit other than, you know, people are listening to it for free. But man, anyway, how y'all doing? I wanted to get into this discussion because it's very important, right? It's very important to understand what these people are doing in the justice system in regards to the po-po. You know, the po-po. Call the po-po ho. It's very important to understand what they're doing, right? Because there is an illusion, there is this idea, or this there is this idea, and maybe there's some level of truth to it. I don't know. There's some idea that, they're starting to really go after police officers for doing terroristic behavior, for doing what they've been doing since their inception, right? Because who were the first pigs in the United States of America? The first set of pigs were the slave patrol, okay? So from the beginning, it has been the custom, and the tradition of police officers, or whatever you want to call them, to essentially ensure that people aren't free, right? And so that was their first mission in this country. Let's be clear on that. Slave patrol, let's make sure that people aren't obtaining freedom, right? You know, we got these slaves here. We want them to remain slaves. We're making a lot of money off of them, and we can't allow them to be free because we'd lose our money, or we'd have to go out and fucking work ourselves. We don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? We want to keep them as slaves for as long as possible, so that when it can't be done anymore, we want to call them lazy. You see what I'm saying? But I digress. Police officers have been terrorizing for at least 200 years, right? And they have been getting away with it for the most part. And now you have all this uproar. You have all this, you have people rising up and speaking out against it. You had what happened with George Floyd, right? What happened with George Floyd was, y'all know what happened with George Floyd. Derek Chauvin went through trial and got sentenced to 20 some odd years. And of course, they're going to appeal it like a motherfucker, but that's to be expected. Yeah, George Floyd, what happened to him, he was murdered in broad daylight on camera in front of hundreds of people, and eventually in front of millions of people via media. And so they wanted to make an example of Derek Chauvin. They wanted to shut people up, quell the crowd, all that type of shit. And, they sentenced him. And, there have been a number of police officers that have been sentenced for and been fired and all this type of shit for committing terrorism, right? For committing a certain level of terrorism. Understand that. When a police officer pulls you over for an infraction and they give you a ticket that says, yo, you have to go to court, you can go to court or you can pay this fine. Basically, they extort you, right? That's a form of terrorism. That's a form of criminal behavior. And they get away with it because they've been sanctioned by the powers that shouldn't be to go ahead and do that. But we know on a deep level that is criminal, right? It's criminal. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens when you go 10 miles over the speed limit, but you don't hit anybody, you don't crash, you know what I'm saying? You're just going 10 miles over the speed limit and you're driving carefully, you're being defensive, you're making sure you're alert. You're not committing a crime, you're not doing anything. But because a police officer might feel like that day, and trust me, they have a level of discretion on whether or not they pull you over, right? They have a level of discretion as long as you're not driving recklessly. But they might decide to do so just because they feel like it that day. They feel like, oh well, I could do some paperwork today, so let me go ahead and do that. And understand what they're doing. They're taking your time away, right? You can't get that time back that they pulled you over for. So they're taking your time, and now they're going to take your money because you went 10 miles over the speed limit and they decided to fuck with you. And so at the basis level, at the most base level, police officers, every time they go out, every time they pull somebody over that isn't committing a crime, then they are committing a crime. So that's what police officers are. They are criminals. They're street criminals. They're street criminals. And that's just going to be, this is what it is. But then we have some of the highest levels of terrorism going on where a police officer can kill somebody and get away with it. They have qualified immunity in regards to civil lawsuits, right? So not only can they not face criminal punishment, corporal punishment for killing somebody, they also are shielded from civil lawsuits. And so when they take somebody's life unjustly, then they can go ahead and they can live their life. They might get fired or they might have to leave that police department. They can then go on to another police department. Even in regards to brutality, where they beat somebody, and all that type of shit, they will get away with it. And they have this qualified immunity, right? And really, qualified immunity basically just applies to, technically, to civil lawsuits. But let's face it, they have qualified immunity when it comes to criminal punishment, right? To criminal charges. They do, because they have a certain latitude in regards to why they have a lot of latitude in regards to beating somebody, assaulting somebody, killing someone, stealing from somebody. They have a certain latitude that you and I do not have. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that. If you're not a police officer, you can't just pull somebody over in your private vehicle, tell them to give you your registration, violate your privacy, and then if they give you some lip or they mouth off or you feel like they're disrespecting you, you can't then just beat on them because you feel like it, right? You can't. But police officers can. And they've been getting away with it many of them get away with it. And so, and the powers that be, they understand that this level of shielding police officers cannot continue for too long, right? So then they do little things to try to get you, be like, oh, okay, well, there's that. Like, look at Amber Geiger, right? Amber Geiger killed Botham Jean in cold blood. In cold blood. Just walked up in his house, dude's eating ice cream. She thought it was her house. Walked up into his house and slaughtered him while he was eating ice cream, right? And, you know, there was some rumors going around that they had some, you know, sexual encounters or whatever. Who knows? She might have been a scorned lover and decided to, you know, maybe he was done with her and he decided to mess with somebody else. And so she said, oh, if I can't have you, nobody can. And killed him. But she got sentenced, what, 10 years? 10 years. If that were you or me, not only did she get sentenced 10 years, but she got a hug from the judge. She got Bibles. She got all kind of just the concessions. Oh, I'm sorry we had to do this to you, but we had to do something to you. So, you know, you have to kind of, what they call that, throw yourself on your sword, that whatever. And you have to fall on the sword. So, but I'm going to give you a hug and a Bible, and you'll be out in 10 years, and you can do whatever the fuck you want after that. Fast forward to Atatiana Jefferson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what happened with Atatiana Jefferson, but, you know, she was in her house with her nephew, and according to her nephew, they had burned hamburgers or something like that. So it was very smoky in the house. So they opened the front door to air it out. And so some neighbor who really should have just went over across the street and asked if everything was okay, decided to call the police to do a wellness check, right? A wellness check. But what do Aaron Dean and his partner do when they show up? They don't go and knock on the door and try to see if everything's okay. They decide to creep around outside the house, go through the yard, don't announce themselves, make noise, and alert Atatiana Jefferson. Atatiana Jefferson is alerted and scared. And so when Aaron Dean gets to the window of the bedroom that she's in with her nephew, she sees a shadow or whatever. Aaron Dean, the pig, does not announce himself. So what does she do? She goes into her purse to get her gun. And when that happens, Aaron Dean just fires off shots and kills her, right? According to the nephew, she never raised her gun. She didn't have an opportunity to. And so there she was, slaughtered and murdered by this police officer. Shout out to one of my subscribers, Spicy Kai, who did an excellent video. You guys can go check out her. I put it in the community tab. She did an excellent video covering this, you know, where she goes over the key points of this case. And I had no idea what was going on in Aaron Dean's trial. I talked about Atatiana Jefferson multiple times. I followed up, and yeah, she was able to discover his sentencing and put it all in a video. So Aaron Dean kills this woman. I think she was 26, 24. Kills her. And there it goes. That's her life is gone. And so now Aaron Dean goes to trial. Well, this is a relatively high profile case, even though it's not high profile enough. It should have been on the level of exposure as George Floyd and that young woman in Kentucky. I forgot her name. Her name escapes me. Louisville, Kentucky. She was killed. What's her name? God damn it. But it should have been that high profile. It should have been a high profile like Ahmaud Arbery. But it wasn't, for whatever reason. And so he goes through trial and he's sentenced. He's found guilty and he gets his sentencing of, I think it was 20 years. I mean, he murdered somebody, right? It may not have been premeditated. It might not have been. You know what I'm saying? Like, it appeared to be random. Maybe he was too trigger happy. Maybe he was just, I don't know. But I have to question his intentions of the way he responded to that wellness visit. It's a wellness visit, right? So why would you not check to see if somebody's well by going to their front door, knocking on the door and saying, hey, everything okay? Why not do that? These motherfuckers, punk ass. Why not do that? Why are we creeping through someone's yard? Why are we creeping through somebody's yard? Do you have probable cause to go through somebody's yard and all that type of shit? No, you don't. No, you don't. So why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Why are we creeping through somebody's yard? You know, I don't understand it. You know, but I will say this. I feel like normally he wouldn't have even been taken to the grand jury. But because, you know, because people are becoming more aware of what police officers can and can't get away with, they had again, another cop had to, you know, fall on the sword, you know, had the sacrificial lamb, so to speak. But it's 20 years, right? 20 years. You know, when you're a police officer, right? When you're a police officer, you are given all this power, right? You're given all this power. You're given all this responsibility. But you're not held to the high standard you should be held to, given all that responsibility, given all that power. Excuse me. If a regular individual, if a normal person, not a cop, were to do that, were to do what he did, I mean, it wouldn't be no question. He probably would have got life in prison. Creeping through somebody's yard, shooting somebody through their window in their own home. You would have been crucified if you were not a cop. But because you're a cop, you can get away with a lot more than a normal, regular individual couldn't get away with. And that's the problem we're having. That's a problem. It is a problem when a police officer, somebody who's given so much power, and it's a lot of power, right? If you're a cop and you have a gun and you can just carry a gun and you have the ability to pull people over, you have the ability to harass people, assault people, all this other shit, you should be held to a higher standard when you commit a crime than a regular non-cop individual. Meaning, if a regular, like if you or me, who is not a cop, were to kill somebody in the same manner Aaron Dean did, we would probably get life in prison, right? Well, a cop should get executed summarily, right? You need to make an example. If you really want cops to be held responsible, if you want accountability for police officers when they do bad shit, you have to make a real example out of them when they do commit crimes, when they do create victims of people. They need to get twice the punishment as a regular motherfucker. And I guarantee you, that would greatly limit the qualifications of a police officer. Not only that, if they knew that, if a person who wanted to become a cop knew that they would be held twice responsible, they would get twice the punishment, twice the consequence as a regular individual, you would definitely weed out the bad motherfuckers hot and quick. The bad apples, man, like it wouldn't be no question. It would be no question. They wouldn't even apply, right? Because let's face it, a lot of these cops, they just want the power. A lot of these people that become cops, they want the power. They enjoy, they get a thrill out of it, right? It's not about protecting the community. It's not about that. It's not about serving the community, because that's not what they have. The Supreme Court said that cops don't have to protect and serve the people. And so their real mission, their real goal is to enforce laws, enforce man-made laws. And so that's what it is. And they're given all this latitude, they're given all this power, they get away with a lot. They get away with so much more. But if you were to say that's no longer the case, you'll get good pay. You'll get good pay, you'll get certain privileges. But once you violate an individual, once you commit a crime against someone, well, guess what? You're going to suffer twice the consequences as that individual you violated would if they did the same thing to you. That's how you keep this shit in check. That's one way. But what happened with Aaron Dean, he got 20 years in prison. Right? If he didn't, even if he didn't kill her in cold blood and with malice, it should not matter, right? Because you have a gun and you have this power, you have this bulletproof vest, all this type of shit. You are backed by the state. You represent the state because you're acting on the state's behalf. So even if it wasn't malicious, he still should suffer twice the consequences, because there is a certain protocol and a certain way you handle shit. There's a reason you have to announce yourself as a police officer. There's a reason you shouldn't just creep in somebody's fucking yard. There's a reason you should just go to the front door, knock on the front door, and see if everything's okay. Not walking around with your gun out in somebody's fucking yard. Right? So even if it wasn't malicious intent, you still fucked up. You fucked up to the point where you ended someone's life. And that has to be taken seriously. It has to be taken seriously. Otherwise, it'll just continue. Look at what happened in Mesa, Arizona. I think it was Mesa, Arizona, or Tempe, Arizona. Daniel Shaver. The cop came. He was in a hotel. He was kind of drunk and doing crazy shit out of the hotel window, which I don't understand, because if you're on a higher floor of a hotel window, you can't do. Anyway, it's irrelevant. They came in there into that hallway, yelling all these contradicting instructions, and killed Daniel Shafer. And the pig that did it had some weird shit etched on his AR-15. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was not it wasn't angelic, let's say that. But killed him and just, stand up, put your hands down, get down, put your hands up, put your hands down, spin around, do the hokey pokey, like all this other type of shit. Killed him. And so, what happened to that guy? He got away with it. See what I'm saying? And so, this is the problem. Police officers should not be getting away with this shit. If you shoot an unarmed individual in his own video, like they did with Daniel Shaver, like, it should be a no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer. That motherfucker should be summarily executed. And that's what should happen. When you become a police officer and you raise your hand and you put your hand on the whatever book and you sign a dotted line, you are signing up. It shouldn't be taken lightly, right? When you commit an act against someone like that, like they did with Atatiana Jefferson, like they did with what's his name, George Floyd, like they did with Atatiana Jefferson, summary execution. That's what I feel like should happen. Summary execution. We know you did it. It's on video. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that you did this. Why even waste the jury's time? Why even waste the jury's time? Because I tell you what, in the military, right? If you're in the military and you are in war, right? You are in war. You're actively deployed in a war zone, and you desert, you get executed. Once you are in active war and there's a war going on, and you go AWOL, right? So there's two levels to it. There's AWOL when you're not in the active war, and then there's desertion when you are in war. When you desert, you can get executed, right? You can get executed. And that's just because you didn't want to stick around and end up dying trying to kill somebody else. That is the level of responsibility that you sign up for as a soldier. That you can be executed for a number of things that civilians can be killed for. You understand what I'm saying? And there are a number of things that you can get punished for that you would think is ridiculous. Why are we doing that? Because there is a certain level, the certain standard that you're being held to as a soldier. And they don't have that for cops. And they should. They should. If you don't lace your boots right, left over right, you can get punished for it. If you commit sodomy in your own private house with your child, with your spouse, you can get punished for it. And what is sodomy to them? If it's not missionary. That's what sodomy is. It doesn't have to be up the butt or in the mouth. If you are hitting your wife doggy style, okay, you can get punished for it. Right? Makes no sense. The shit you can get punished for in the military, the UCMJ is this thick. The United States Code, the Uniform Code of Military Justice is this thick. And it's filled with shit that you'll be amazed you can get punished for, that you can get sent to jail for. But where's that for pigs? Where's that for police officers? If you are, what the fuck, this motherfucker, man? I hate when, why, let me ask y'all truckers out there, why do y'all, so this trucker's in the slow lane, right? I'm in the fast lane on the left. And there's another truck in front of me, like a pickup truck. This big ass trucker just zips over, does not use his blinkers, hops over into the fucking fast lane, cutting this motherfucking pickup truck in front of me off. Why do y'all do that? Is doing the right thing by staying in the fucking slow lane and driving slow. Is not going fast enough for him, so he cuts off this, no blinker. And then why do y'all get into the fast lane and stay in that motherfucker for much longer than y'all need to? Anyway, that's just, that shit irks the fuck out of me. Stay your ass in the left lane. You don't need to be zipping and bipping in the motherfucking fast lane. That's for us. Anyway, so the United States Code of Military, or the United States Code, the Uniform Code of Military Justice is filled with shit that we soldiers are not supposed to do, and if they do it, pigs need that same type of fucking rule book. They do. They do. Y'all, police officers need to be held to a higher standard. They're not. You know, they're not. They're not held to a high enough standard. And so that's why you have things going on. That's why you have shit going on that you have going on. Where police are just brutalizing people, terrorizing people, killing people. And they have this air of arrogance about them because they feel like they're untouchable. They feel like they're untouchable. No, it shouldn't be like that. But that's what we have. And I'm going to tell you why. Oh, and I was saying, let's say we are in a theater of not combat, but kind of combat. I'm talking about a soldier. And there are certain rules of engagement. I don't know if police officers have rules of engagement, but there are certain rules of engagement. They change based on peacetime, armistice time, and wartime. When 9/11 happened, we were put on alert. When I was in Korea, when 9/11 happened, I was in Korea, and we were put on high alert, 24-hour duty, whatever, 20-hour duty, basically, where you get 4 hours off throughout the day, not even 4 hours straight, 4 hours off throughout the day, and your ass was basically on patrol or on guard for 24 hours, 20 hours, basically. And we were given rules of engagement. We were given live ammunition because we didn't know if North Korea was going to take advantage of what happened at Twin Towers. But I'm going to tell you, my unit would have been wiped out almost immediately, probably, because North Korea has missiles and shit pointed directly that are ready to hit not my post, the base I was on. They have that. That would be the first place struck by North Korean missiles. There will be very few survivors, but this is understood. But we were put on high alert, given live ammunition and all that type of shit. But the point is, we were given rules of engagement, things that we could and could not do when we were allowed to engage. And we're not allowed to engage, and we're technically at war with North Korea. We were just in armistice. It's like a temporary ceasefire. It's a temporary ceasefire, but basically it had been going on. The ceasefire had been going on for about 50 something years by the time I was in South Korea. So technically it was wartime, but they call it armistice because you're stood down and the war hasn't resolved. But basically, there are certain things you can't do. You can't, in order to engage an enemy, right? That enemy would have to have basically the barrel of his firearm raising toward you before you get engaged. And so that's when you get engaged. But I don't know how it is with the police. They don't even have to. You don't even have to have a fucking firearm, and they can just take you out. And you're talking about fellow Americans. Cops are out here. They can kill fellow Americans with no firearm. They can beat on people that mouth off to them, all this type of shit. And you're talking about your own fellow people in your own goddamn country. People, enemy soldiers get more fucking common courtesy than that, right? There are certain points we get engaged. It's not like that with the police. And if it was, you'll see a lot more police officers being locked up, being punished, right? And you have these people out here like Brandon Tatum and all them, the bad shiners that'll tell you, oh, well, there aren't that many encounters, blah, 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 with the police that end a certain way. Well, that's what they show you because they control the information. They control the information. They control the stats. They can show you whatever the fuck they want to show you. That's why I don't subscribe to this black people are 13% of the population and commit this amount of the crime. I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to those statistics. Because yeah, the FBI is giving you these statistics, but they have to gather all this information from the local police departments. And the local police departments are always fucking with the stats. They're always fluffing the numbers to make themselves look good. They're always manipulating. Always. And there are a lot of variables that go into the races and all that other shit. Like, all things created equal, white people and black people commit crimes at the same rate. At the same rate. They do drugs at the same rate, they kill at the same rate, and all this type of shit. It's at the same rate. You know why? Because we're all fucking human beings. Right? We're all humans. Yes, based on culture, you might do things differently, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all human beings, and we all are imperfect. So I don't believe them fucking stats. I don't believe it. Especially when you have 70 to 80% of exonerees, right? People that are exonerated they are set free. Basically, they have been imprisoned, wrongfully imprisoned and set free. The majority, like 70 to 80% of people exonerated are black people. And those are the facts. So I can't really believe that because the police departments will set your ass up. They will put a crime on you. They will, stack a case against you. They will do that. As a matter of fact, I keep talking about this police department in Florida, where this police chief had his police officers setting up black people so that he can lock up more black people. So when these things happen, I can't trust that 13% bullshit. 13%, 90% of the crimes. Fuck out of here with that. It's just frustrating, man. And this is why I say it's the new qualified immunity. Well, we know that we're probably not going to be able to allow these police officers to keep getting away with this shit. So we're going to take a police officer every now and then, and we're going to give them a sentence. It won't be a long sentence. It won't equal the crime, but we'll do that to act like we're doing something. And what they're doing with these police officers now, what they're doing with Amber Geiger, what they're doing with Aaron Dean, what they're doing with all these different police officers, that Derek Chauvin, is they're trying to throw some bones. Here you go. See that? And that's what we have. But anyway, I'm gonna get off this live stream, man. And I got a long road trip ahead of me. I gotta stop at the company shop, swap out my truck, and then I gotta go all the way to Dalton, Georgia. So I got about 5 or 6 hours of I got about 4 hours of driving ahead of me. So after I leave my company headquarters here in Georgia, here in South Carolina, I'll probably get on the live stream again and talk about some more shit because there's a lot going on. And yeah, I'll holler at y'all. But yeah, much love. Like, share, subscribe. And we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.